I'm not making any money talking these days. Good Christ. I'm a dick, folks. I'm not going to lie to you. Still am. I guess I am a decent guy because I'm a fucking jerk. And I'm not a jerk. Apparently I'm a dick. I'm not an awful guy, but I've done so much ridiculous stuff. I'm an awful guy. Hey, what's happening? 40-Year-Old Boy Podcast. Your friend Mike Schmidt coming to you via your earphones or your earbuds or your speakers, or perhaps you burned me to CD and are listening to me in your car. Why wouldn't you? I sound so much better when you're traveling at high speed. I'm telling you about the 40-Year-Old Boy. That's me. Oh, God. This is awful, folks, because you know what? Here's what happened. I came over here to Lily's house to do this show, and for weeks, since those of you who are new to the show may not know this, I had a producer before my friend Lily. My friend Eric was a matter of fact, I'm not doing this show. It's not for Eric calling me and making me do the show. So Eric was the producer for a while, and then there was a dust up, if you will. There was a change in life, and young Eric had to go ahead and take care of business on his own. And he said, you know what, Mike, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to help you anymore because I have a real life with real jobs and real responsibilities. And these people are doing this for free. I need to tell you that. I don't pay anybody anything. I pay them what you pay to listen. Nothing. Except for time. Last week, Lily got paid with a Chipotle taco and an ice cream cone from Ben & Jerry's. That was it. That's what she, and honestly, didn't earn it. I got to be honest. She got a little bit more than she deserved last week. Taco, maybe. That was definitely a taco-worthy performance of producing. But I threw in the ice cream cone just hoping that it would get better from that point on. Because I don't know if you've heard, the show is different from when Eric was producing it. Because when Eric was doing it, my voice was always kind of there. My voice was, it just sounded like my voice was normal and everything was good. But now with Lily, there's like, I sound muffled sometimes, and sometimes I sound like I'm screaming directly into the microphone, and it's whatever. Here's what and so then I actually get an email this week from Eric. Eric is like, dude, I'm loving the show. And it was great, and I forwarded it to Lily because I wanted her to see if any of this mumbo jumbo made any sense to her. But it said, dude, really loving the show. Episode 12 was great. Everything is really funny, despite Lily's audio mistakes. So he just, and he didn't mean it like that. He meant that he's trying to be nice, and I understand that. And then he wrote, have her crank up the gain and turn down the main and publish the feed and avoid vast ye hardy, raise the mainsail, and I don't know what the fuck. Who knows? I don't know anything about it. All I know is, again, I come here, I sit in the rolly chair, I put on the headset mic, and I yap, and that's it. And whatever happens after that, and you know what I do then? I go home and I pick the music, and I send it to Lily, and then she tries to put it in where I told her where to put it, and it doesn't go in where it's supposed to go. So, because last week, last week's closing song, I don't know, exactly. I have no idea why you just haven't quit or thrown me out of your house by this point. But last week, the closing song, here's, again, the music is important to me. I know it's weird. This is, again, a show about, this is, when you have no control in your life over anything, the one thing or two things you do have control over become the most important things in the world, and you will micromanage them to fucking death. It's like being a kid and you have a goldfish and you have no other pets and no other responsibilities. You feed that fucking goldfish every half hour till it's dead. And eventually the fish is just kind of floating, and you're like, oh, man, I can't believe that goldfish is dead. And your mom's like, well, what happened? Did you feed him? Yeah, I fed him. Like all the time. I made sure. And then your mom picks up the jar of food, and it's empty, and goes, we bought this fish yesterday. You actually fed it the entire container? Well, yeah, he looked hungry. He didn't look hungry. You looked bored. That's what it was. You killed your fish. This podcast is my fish, and I'm in the process of fucking feeding it to death. I'm throttling it, because I can't stop micromanaging it. So I called Lily. We're on the phone at 3:30 in the morning on Wednesday night or Tuesday night, and she's going, well, I've uploaded the feed, and we're waiting to see if it pings iTunes, and I've got to make sure the name is... I would call Eric and say, dude, everything has to be capitalized on the name. It's very important. This is who you're dealing with, folks. This is the anal guy who is... this is all I have. So I have the 40-year-old... And imagine what I was like when I didn't even have this. When I had nothing, what I was doing to my poor wife when I'm sitting in the house. And because imagine having all of the the anger and the wherewithal and no control and wanting to control something, but none of the drive to get anything done. Because normally a guy like that would be in his house and he'd go, you know what? Christ, I'm going to paint this house because I got nothing else going on. Are you kidding me? Absolutely. I couldn't be furthest away from that. That is not what I'm thinking at all. I'm thinking, Christ, I have no control and I've got nothing going on. Yeah, I'm going to sit here. I'm only going to sit here another 4 hours, and then we're going to see maybe something good will happen. Maybe someone will come and knock on my door and say that they should give me a job. Maybe that will happen, because that's usually what happens. A lot of people in the entertainment industry go door to door looking for the next big thing. I'm sure it's going to happen someday, eventually. And then, thankfully, Eric came along and said, hey, how about if I give you a toy that you can play with until it's broken? And I said, abso-fucking-lutely. So then Eric, of course, got tired of being the guy who played with me for a couple of weeks and went, I can't live with this guy calling me and going, hey, I was supposed to say there, and you have me saying and. So I've been graciously handed off to my friend Lily, who is right now literally typing a resume in her head. I mean, like, she is going, I got to find somebody else who doesn't pay me that I can work for, because I am out. Because last week's closing song was a song, and I was like, you know what, Lily, do me a favor. Bed me underneath, again, I'm learning some lingo, so that's driving people fucking insane. It's like, bed me underneath my talking, go ahead and put the music, and let me talk all the way up until the lyrics start, and then fade me. She's like, absolutely. And I get it back. And this is actually the way to handle somebody like this. She did it her way. She just did it her way, and that was it. And it was already out, and I'm not going to make her take it down. And also, I have to listen to the show. I don't listen until it goes up on iTunes. I like to hear the finished product. Here's how anal I am, folks. I have actually downloaded the show, and it's come up, and it said, like, I think it was episode 7, and it said episode 7, 40-year-old boy instead of the title I chose. I deleted it. I wasn't going to listen to it unless it had the proper title attached to it, because it's not the same show unless it has the title attached to it. Unless the 4 words that I've chosen as the title are in the iTunes, I couldn't possibly listen. No interest in hearing it unless it has the proper title, because I am insane. I'm the guy. This is true. I am a guy who, when I buy a newspaper, and I haven't bought a newspaper in over 2 years. I'll be honest with you, because I used to read 5 newspapers a day when I lived in Lake Tahoe. When it was down here in L.A., it was 3 a day. And then I whacked the Daily News because it's a rag that I wouldn't line a birdcage with. So I just had the L.A. Times and the USA Today, and I read it every single day. And if anybody were to see me reading the paper and asked if they could borrow my sports section or something, I would give it to them, and I would go buy a new newspaper, because I didn't want my sports section back from them because they had taken all of the information out of it. That's how crazy I am. I know they didn't. I know it's exactly the same, but I don't want it back from them, because you know what? A paper is 50 cents. If you don't have 50 cents, if you have to borrow something from me that costs 50 cents, how homeless are you? Unless, you know what? If you want to borrow my paper to sleep under it, then I could see you doing that. But to borrow it to read it and kill some time, hey, walk 9 steps and buy a goddamn newspaper. That's how crazy I am. Sorry, I just am. And it's rubbing off, too, by the way, on Lily. I'll tell you that, because we went to a movie this weekend and she almost punched somebody. We went to see The Happening, which I'm not going to talk about in great detail. You can go ahead to comedyfilmnerds.com and read my column on it. I don't know why Lily's clapping. That seems odd. But we went, and then we sat at the ArcLight Theater, where you can go ahead and buy your own seats, assigned seats, which is great. So we bought seats like right in the middle of the theater, and we're sitting there, and there's seats empty next to us. And then these 3 drunks came in, literally drunk to see a movie. Who says, hey, let's go tie one on and then catch a film? I don't understand that. Especially an M. Night Shyamalan film, which, quite frankly, when those are over, you should want to get drunk. You don't want to get drunk going in. I mean, I guess unless you're trying to get it to make more sense. So these 3 people are loaded, and this woman sits down, and she's yelling at the screen. This is before the trailers even start. She's she's doing all of the things that you don't want to do in a movie theater. She is talking on the phone, yelling loudly for a friend, and then texting all at the same time, like punching buttons and talking. Like, the only thing worse could have been if she broke out a hibachi and just started cooking in the aisle. Because she's talking, and she's like, Ben! She's yelling Ben for some guy, Ben. Did that clip? Go ahead, look. Take a look. You sure? Clipping, I've learned, is bad, folks. And then before, I'll tell you this, while we were, she and I were having this meeting of the minds, where she's telling me, the clipping and the gaining and the maining and the headphones and the feed, I don't get it. I don't know anything. All I know is it's never going to be good enough. That's the only thing I know, folks. I don't know any of these terms. I don't know what works or what doesn't. All I know is no matter what happens, it is not going to be good enough. I am going to tinker with it until I break its little neck and then have to bury it in the backyard and hope that God takes my turtle. So, so she's like giving me, I have to test speak. You have to test the microphone and all this stuff. And she's like, give me a laugh. So I laughed and she goes, no, a louder laugh. And I'm like, because I guess I laugh loudly, I suppose. And it's an abrupt like, ha ha ha, like that kind of thing. So she's like, laugh louder. And I laughed as loud as I just laughed a second ago. And she's like, no, louder than that. I said, nobody laughs that loud. I'm not a maniac. I mean, I might laugh or blurt laugh or just I kind of laugh on accident, but nobody goes, ha 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 ha. No one laughs like that. Did that happen? Did that clip?
No clipping.
How does that not clip?
Because I have my trim and my gain down. So
See? The trim and the gain, folks. I don't know what any of that means. It's dog food. It's detergent. That's all I know. But trim and gain. It sounds like, that sounds like a country group. Two guys like Brooks and Dunn are playing with trim and gain. So, all right. So Lily, so the drunks sit there, and this woman is on the phone texting. She's doing everything you could possibly imagine. And the guy she's with is, it's me. Then there's the guy. And the guy, he's got hair like Thor. He's got crazy long blonde hair. And he actually has Carpe Diem, baby, tattooed on his inner forearm. I don't know if it was Austin Powers. I'm not sure. But Carpe Diem, baby. So, but what I see from that, I see Carpe Diem, baby, which means, of course, seize the day, which means, all right, good, this guy will fight me. If anything happens, I know this guy's going to throw, and he's not going to run away like a girl because he's going to look right at his forearm like Popeye eating spinach and go, hey, you know what, seize the day, and then punch me in the head, and then we can go round and round. So I already figured there's two chicks and then the guy, and I'm going to have to fight the guy, but the chicks are drunk enough where one of them might jump on me, I'm thinking. Whatever, I plot the whole fight out. Little do I know that as I'm plotting the fight out in my head, and they're talking, and they're yelling, Lily is on my left. She starts rocking back and forth. Like, literally just, like, rocking in her seat, like Dustin Hoffman and Rain Man when Wapner was going to come on. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? She's like, I'm going to punch this chick. I'm like, come on. Are you really? And now I'm put in the position of being the sensible one. Really? You want me being the guy trying to talk somebody down? So I look at her and I say to her, I go, listen. I go, I'll handle it. I go, relax. They can talk all they want through the trailers. That's here's my motto in the movies. Talk all you want during the trailer. You can do somersaults. You can play patty cake and Jackson balls. You can do whatever you want to do during the trailer. I don't care. You can order a pizza. As long as it's delivered and paid for by the time the movie starts, I couldn't care less what you do in the theater. Seriously. But once the movie starts, shut up. That's it. That's my only rule in the theater. Because in the trailers, I don't care. I love trailers, but I didn't pay to see the trailers, so they can talk all they want. I paid to see the movie. You talk during the movie, there's a good chance you're getting elbowed. So, the movie, the trailer, they're going crazy. Lily's rocking back and forth. I'm trying to talk her down. And finally, the movie starts. And in the happening, it's the credits start to roll, and it's all it is the credits. There's a shot of the sky. And this woman yells, yeah, loudly, like really loudly. And Lily just goes, I'm going to fucking kill this girl. And I go, I go, calm down. So I lean over to Thor and I go, this isn't going to continue, right? And he goes, no, I promise it won't. I go, good. I go, you'll handle it? He goes, I'll talk to her. It's weird, though, because she's my boss. Really? She's your boss? Where? At Carpe Diem Baby Inc.? Because I don't know when. First of all, I don't know where he works. Second of all, I don't know what he's doing out with his boss unless he's trying to fuck a promotion up. And she's loaded. I mean, she's balmy. So whatever she does, it's like you're going to go back to the office and go, hey, you're not going to believe what Jenny did this weekend. She got punched by a stripper at the movie theater. So I said to him, you're going to take care of it, right? He goes, yeah, I'll handle it. So he leans over and he asks her to be quiet. And the happening is happening. And then something happens in the movie, and she goes, yeah, again at the top of her lungs. And finally a guy, like an older gentleman, in front of her turns around, and he does the whole, listen, you got to keep it quiet. And people are saying shush. People are going shush, shush, whatever. Finally, this guy turns around and looks at her and goes, look, you need to stop talking. And I can't hear what he's saying, but he's talking to her. She leans in to talk to him. And he finishes and turns around. She leans forward and flips him off right behind his head, like with her extended arm, like the craziest flip off ever. And she's just like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And she's flipping him off. And I'm like, I can't believe it. I'm stunned at the audacity of this. Thor is just holding his head in his hands at this point because he's going, where am I going to work Monday? Meanwhile, Lily is like leaning over, like she wants to climb over me and Thor to get at this chick. And I look at her, and now here's the weird thing for a guy, and certainly for me. I'm trying to get Lily to stand down because it's making me feel inadequate that she feels she needs to get involved. No, this is not on you. This is not on you at all. This is on me. This is how crazy I am in my head. It's how I am with Karen too. I used to date a girl named Stephanie. Okay, and Stephanie and I were dating, and by dating I mean we were dating for a while, and then for 8 months we played the I don't know if I like you or not, do you like me game, all that fucking horse shit that you do with somebody when you don't want to have the balls to find somebody new, when you're still sticking around with somebody who's comfortable. So Stephanie and I'm on the road in Chicago once. She calls me and tells me that she's calling me from home. She's been in the hospital all night because she went to a bar, and she used to live in Encinitas, California, and she went to the Blue Moon Saloon one night, and she's with her friend Nancy, I think. And Stephanie, some Marine guy walked up to her and asked her to dance because they're right by Camp Pendleton. And the Marine guy asked Stephanie to dance. Stephanie's like, no, I'm not going to dance. And Stephanie was from New York, so she was a little brash. And I guess the guy was like, well, you don't want to fucking dance with me. What are you doing in the fucking club, bitch? Which sounds like he might have been a little brash, quite frankly. And she's just like, fuck you. Who do you, blah, blah, blah. This guy punches Stephanie in the face and runs. Just one of the real class act. Just hit and run, just runs out. The bouncers chase him. He breaks her nose. So she calls me in Chicago and tells me that she got punched in a club and her nose has been broken. And I am filled with rage because I'm not there and shame because I'm not there. For some reason, I make it my problem. It has nothing to do with me. But that's who I am in my tiny little brain. I'm the guy who should have taken care of it. I'm the guy who should have been there to make things right. I'm the guy who should have been there to fix it. So the other night, when Lily is like freaking out over this woman shutting up, I'm trying to explain to her, I'm getting mad at Lily because I'm frustrated with myself. I'm like, look, relax, okay? What are we going to do? Punch her? And then Lily goes, yeah, I'm going to punch her. I go, be honest. You're not really going to punch this girl in the theater. She's like, yes, I am. I'm going to punch her and shut her up. And so then I'm getting more angry and more inadequate, and I'm going, look, you say you're going to punch her, but you're not really. Just admit that you're really not thinking about punching her. She goes, no, I'm going to punch her. I go, great. Then everybody's going to call the cops? And she goes, yeah, nobody's going to call the cops. If I punch her, this whole theater is going to cheer me. They're going to go crazy. I go, will you stop escalating it and pretending like it's going to be fine if you punch her? Because it's not. I've lived this. It's not right to punch. And it's, again, we're talking about me telling people it's not okay to punch somebody. I understand. But, 10 years ago, I don't even fuck around. I lean over at that woman, and I get right in her face, and I tell her what's what, and I tell her to shut up or get out or whatever, and it turns into an incident because then Thor's going to feel like he has to defend his girl, and then he's going to try to take a swing at me, and he's going to bring out the hammer of Mjolnir and hit me in the brain with it, and whatever. We're going to, like I said, we're going to dance right there in the middle of the happening, and quite frankly, people would be thrilled because that means they would stop the movie right then, and they wouldn't have to sit through the rest of it. But instead, I'm trying to be the guy who thinks now. I'm thinking a few steps ahead instead of just, firing left hands and then asking questions later. So I'm trying to get Lily to stand down. And suffice it to say, the way Lily finally calms down. We're sitting there watching the movie. And this chick finally shuts up. She's still talking to her friend, and you can still hear that little murmur, that little buzz. But whatever. The movie was so bad that, quite frankly, all of us didn't care. It was something to take our mind off the fact that what we were watching was unfolding. And then with like 40 minutes left in the movie, she took off anyway. And Thor looks at me and he just goes, I'm sorry. And I'm like, yeah, right, I get it. You're sorry. But, you still got to go to work with that chick on Monday, which is going to be awful. And that was the best part is she bailed. She left with like, I would say 40 minutes left in the movie, never came back. And they didn't go after her, Thor and the other friend, because they were probably just happy that she was out of their hair. But I don't know where she wound up. I half expected to go out to the lobby of the ArcLight and see her fucking the big Hulk statue that they had out there. Because they have like a big, 10-foot replica of the Hulk. By the way, the Hulk is awesome. I've seen it twice already. Awesome. Go see it. Go see it, because I'm Mr. Movie, apparently. That's me. Big thumb up. Big green thumb up your ass. All right, go. But yeah, man, I'm the guy who thinks now. I'm the guy who has to, my head wants to fight. My head, it's like that's your first instinct, but it's like you can't do that, man. You can't act like a jackass, and because I'm old. I mean, that's the whole point of calling this as the 40-year-old boy is because I am old, and you forget as you get older, things, start to break down, man. My knees click, and I abused my body anyway because I was crazy Fat Mike for a long time. And I still am Fat Mike to a certain extent. Like in my head is still Fat Mike. And I'm trying to fix that because, when I went, I had gastric bypass surgery. And they always say, and they put you through this battery of tests and they try to make sure that you're on board they give you a psych test that's like 20 pages long because they need to make sure that you understand that getting the surgery isn't just a magic bullet. You need to actually work very hard after the surgery to lose the weight. And I'm on board with that. I totally get it. But I still got flashes of Fat Mike. And man, because fat people lie. Let's be honest. Fat people are just, I had to go to these meetings like, with fat people as a way of learning about the surgery and learning about our life. And there's nothing worse than, first of all, being in a conference room full of fat people. It's like you can't turn one way or the other without bumping into somebody's roll. You're just like, oh, this is awful. I can't, but I have expected to start a fire from walking around and rubbing my fat on everybody. And these people are just so, because fat people are used to not having discipline. So they're being told what they need to do. Once you get the surgery, you can't eat for like 2 weeks and you got to drink these proteins. You got to take multivitamins the rest of your life. I mean, it's a real life-changing experience. And they're talking about you got to take calcium pills because you're not going to really want to drink milk. They're telling you really won't want to drink milk or eat dairy products and things like that because you might have a bad reaction. And so then this woman goes, well, I think I'll be fine. I'm just going to get my calcium through milk. And it was a big fat lady who was like, whose shoes were really angry at her for jamming her fat feet into them, like that kind of fat. And she's trying to go, oh, well, no, you know what? She's like, they have that sugar-free chocolate. Am I going to be able to eat that? No, you're not, fatty. Why would you ever be able to eat it? That's why you're in this room thinking of getting your stomach turned into an envelope because you've been shoving candy in your face for years. But it's people's heads that are fucked up. And my head is still fucked up. Karen and I go to the sushi bar. We go to this place, the sushi bar called Midori, and it's all-you-can-eat sushi. Now, those are 4 words I should never care about ever again. All you can eat to me is nothing. I can't eat a lot of food because I've had this surgery. And I shouldn't eat a lot of food, quite frankly. Even if it is sushi, bite-sized sushi, small sushi, you still eat rice, you still eat all these things. But we still go and we still order all-you-can-eat sushi. And then this is we'll wind up ordering something. And I can't eat, like I said, I can't eat much. So then I'm relying on Karen. Like, we'll order a sushi roll and there'll be like 8 pieces to it. And I can eat like 1, maybe 2. So then Karen's got to eat 6. So the rule at the sushi bar is if you don't eat something during all you can eat, if you don't finish it, and it's funny, they're like, you got to finish the rice and everything. It's like the movie The Great Outdoors with John Candy, where he had to finish the giant steak and he had to eat all the gristle and everything else and the parsley and the potatoes. And, if you don't eat everything, first they won't give you something else. And also, if you don't finish something, you have to pay for it. You have to pay menu price for it. So we'll go and we'll order something, and then there will be like 3 big, because they'll make big sushi rolls. There's like 3 or 4 pieces left. And Karen and I will look at her and I'll just like roll my eyes. I will actually have to put like 2 big pieces of sushi in my mouth and go to the bathroom and like spit it out to get rid of it. Because I don't want to pay $14 for the sushi roll that we couldn't finish. So then it becomes this weird game show of how much can you shove into your mouth and still look normal walking to the bathroom. Because the waiters see you, and they see you if you've got, like a huge bucket of chum in your mouth. They understand what you're doing, I'm sure. But Karen and I'll just look at her and I'll go, you going to finish this? And she's like, no. And the thing is, she'll want to order something else. She just won't want to finish that. And I'll go, oh, all right. So I'll load it up. I'll just start packing my mouth full. I don't know. Isn't there an animal that fills its cheeks up and then eats later or something like that? Like, I know cows they chew their cud. I don't know, giraffes. I don't know who the hell it is. I don't watch the Animal Planet. So but I'll jam my mouth full of sushi and then go in and deposit it, like throw it in the garbage can, and then come back and then we'll order more. It's just. So then I'll head down there and I'll have to pack my mouth full of sushi and then make my way down the hallway, trying to look, like incognito with a giant head stuffed full of food. And I go to the restroom and then dump it out and then come back. And we actually order more sushi. That's how sad it is. We actually order more sushi from there. And I've done this, 5 or 6 or 8 times when we visit these particular sushi places. And finally I was like, you know what, Karen? It's your turn. You got to do it. She's like, what? I go, you put the sushi in your mouth and you go ahead and get rid of it because it's your fault. You ordered this one this time, so you go ahead and get rid of it. And she's just like, I don't want to do it. I go, come on, it's not hard. You put it in your mouth and you just kind of walk down. So she does. She starts jamming sushi into her mouth, and I'm looking at her and I'm like, all right, keep going. And she finally puts one more in her mouth, and she's like, "Rrr." She gets up to walk down, and the guy, like the maitre d' guy, was like, do you want some more tea, miss? Like he asked her, and she's got a mouthful of crazy sushi, and she's just like. She made the most panicked face in the world, like the police had caught her buying drugs. I mean, it was like the worst face ever. She just like popped her eyebrows and go, yeah, definitely. And I had to jump in and like, sure, yes, please, bring some more. She'd like some more tea. And she ran. She literally kind of jogged to the bathroom. And he's like, is she okay? I go, I'm sure she's fine. I think everything's. You know what she needs? A little more tea. Go ahead and knock that down. So I picture her just getting into the bathroom because it happened to me one time where I packed my mouth full of sushi and I walked to go to the bathroom and it was locked. So now I'm standing there waiting to get in and use the restroom. And, when people walk by you, you're just like, I get a mouthful of chow. And terrible. So, then the guy lets me in and you wind up getting rid of it. Just terrible. So then we laugh. We think it's hilarious. But at the same time, it's, we're going to get busted one day. I'm going to wind up with a mouthful of Clippers roll. And they're going to be like, what are you doing, dude? And I'm going to have to pay for it. But, that's me. That's what's going to have to happen. But it's because my head is all screwed up that we still even order more sushi. Because I don't... It's terrible, and the thing is, it's my head. My head is still all fucked up, and now my body is starting to match, man. It's like I'm 40. I don't know if I'm having midlife problems or this is the problems everybody has. I have no idea, but it's like my knees click, you know what I mean? And like I'll get up off the couch and it sounds like a 21 gun salute with everything just fucking cracking and pinging and moving and good Christ. And I go to the gym and I everything's great at the gym. I'm working out, everything's fine. But Karen and I yesterday are in the mall. And we're walking through, and they had the blood pressure machine, the one that you put your arm in the arm cuff. And I get in, I sit down, and we've done it a million times, done it at Target, whatever. I sit down at this one, I put my arm in. My blood pressure came up. It was like 167 over 100, which they have a chart on the machine. I think my heart actually exploded right there in the mall. I'm not sure. I don't know if there's just, like the Death Star, it just went, and there's bits of it floating around now. I'm barely alive. But I mean, that's the highest it's ever been. And I'm freaked. I looked at Karen and I'm like, 167 over 100, that's retarded because I always check it. There's one at our Target too that I go to, and it's always like, 85 over 70. I mean, it's always really good, and my pulse rate or whatever, everything's fine, my heart rate. But 167 over 100, that's just retarded. That's like double what it usually is. And I was really freaked out about it for a second, and then I went, maybe you don't put too much credence in the blood pressure machine outside of Macy's at the mall. Maybe you don't think to yourself, hey, I need to be rushed to the emergency room because right outside of Hot Topic, it told me that I was going to faint. But the funny part of that is I go to the one at Target, and the one at Target tells me I'm fine, and I'm like, look at that, I'm fine. Everything is fantastic according to the Target machine. Maybe because Target must have more validity because there's a pharmacy. That's how I feel. There's some sort of medical personnel. That one it's like 2 feet away from medicine, so that machine definitely knows what it's talking about. The one the one in Target is like right near medicine, so it definitely knows what it's talking about. But the one that's outside of Chess King, that definitely doesn't know what it's talking about. Who is that to tell me that I'm going to die? And by the way, Chess King, that if that doesn't tell you that I'm 40 years old, I don't know what will. There is not a Chess King left on this earth. Nobody is going to buy their Cavaricis. So believe me, I don't know why Chess King leaped into my head, but it did. But you know what it is? It's the blood pressure. I'm still a little woozy and groggy. I'm hypertension. So then, of course, all night long, I kept joking to Karen that I was hypertense. Like whenever she'd want to do something, I'd go, "Oh, my tense is too hyper. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, so hypertense." But when you're a kid, man, you don't think about that kind of stuff. Nobody thinks about that. I used to think I was indestructible. I would do crazy shit. And one time I was living in Lake Tahoe, and it was cold outside. And I had a tie on. I don't know why. I used to dress a lot nicer, folks, when I was a young man. So I had a tie. I had my Cavaricis on, of course, and my pointy shoes. And I get dressed up, and I go to walk out. And I was living in a youth hostel at the time. And believe me, that was not exactly a high point. Let me put it, putting on the tie at the youth hostel, that is like the high and the low of your life. Really, you're like. That was the year I spent watching It's a Wonderful Life around a wood-burning stove with homeless guys sobbing because I hadn't called my mom in 9 months because everything had gone to hell. So I'm living in Tahoe. I go walking out of this like log cabin where I'm living, And there's stairs. There's like 8 stairs. I take the first step. They're covered in ice, and I'm wearing like slippery shoes. Like a cartoon, I go whoop. I slip. I go in the air like the Matrix, like Neo leaning back in the Matrix, dodging the bullets. That's how far back I'm leaned. My feet actually leave the ground. I land on the stairs so hard I smash all of the ice that was on the stairs. They were covered in ice, and I came down flat back, and it made this noise, and all of the ice splintered. And everybody and people came. It was so bad. The homeless people, stopped pondering how terrible their lives were and fashioning crude nooses out of belts, and came outside to see how I was. They come charging out. They're like, Mike. And that's horrible, too, when the homeless know your name. They come running out. They're like, Mike, are you okay? And I literally stood up, and I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I was fine. I dusted myself off because I was fucking indestructible when I was a kid, man. I didn't even – we went – one time, my friends and I went to a party, and this is me and Ak and Dennis and Jeff and Max and guys I've talked about before. And we were in somebody's basement. And, again, it was a party where we didn't know anybody. And this is in 1985 when the Bears were winning the Super Bowl. And the Bears, their defense would bark. They were like the junkyard dog defense. So they would bark and they would headbutt. Like Jim McMahon would headbutt the offensive line. So we got it in our heads when we would go out drinking or hanging out that we would headbutt. That was our thing. We would like headbutt each other and just sort of headbutt anything, really. That was so. The funniest thing would be to do it to somebody who wasn't involved, like didn't like it. Like you would be at a party and someone would walk up and they'd be like, dude, and you'd be like, dude, wham, and you'd headbutt them right in the forehead, and they'd be like, dude, and they'd fucking go to their knees because they were in pain, and you're just like, ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, it was bad when I was 17. So we went to a party one time, and it was a party where we didn't know anybody, and there was a pool table, so you could put your money down, and the next guy got the pool. So we wound up winning a game of pool. And we were, like celebrating or something, and I headbutted the pool table, like I like to kind of like alpha male it up, just like, yeah, that's right, wham, and I headbutted the pool table as hard as I could, just like right into the pool, not realizing pool tables are made of marble and cement and whatever the hell else is under the felt. I don't know what I thought. I mean, just because it looks like Grover doesn't mean it's soft like Grover. Doesn't mean that it's, I can't, because, and believe me, once I hit my head, it was near and far because I grabbed I started to go pinholes. I was going to pass out, and I held onto the pool table just gripping it as my field of vision went down, down, down to the tiniest pinhole of light. I go, and in my head I'm going, don't, and finally I regained it, like standing there, and everybody knew something was wrong because they're looking at me like, dude, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. As a, ridiculous softball-sized egg formed on my forehead. And then I turned around and I headbutted a metal pole that was holding up the basement. Because to prove again that I was okay, I went ahead and drilled my skull into a metal pole. This might explain a lot, folks, about why I am the way that I am. All these head injuries and head traumas as a child. But again, I was indestructible, man. I didn't think another time when I lived in Tahoe, I was walking on the big street was Kingsbury Grade, and they had Route 50, like Highway 50, I think it was 50, I think. And I was walking home from the grocery store. And I went to cross the street, and it's a busy street. And I went to cross, and a guy turned left, and as he came left, he hit me. I was hit by a car. He didn't even look, like he was doing that thing where you're like looking to the right to make sure nobody's coming, and then you turn left, but he's not looking that there's a person crossing the street, and he comes through, and he had a pretty good head of steam going, and he hit me. Bam! I get hit by a car. I go flying. And I land on the grass in the snow. It was winter, and smartly, what I should have done probably is laid there and pretended like I was in like the worst pain of all time, and maybe sued the guy and gotten a little cash out of it. But what tough guy Mike does, I got hit by the car. I went flying, and I landed, and I got up, and the guy's like, stop, and he looks out the window. He's like, are you okay? You can see his face. And I get up, and it must have looked like a horror movie. It must have looked like when they think they've killed Jason, and then Jason gets up, and they're like, what the fuck is going to happen? Like, I was the Shape. I got to be the Shape from Halloween for a day. Because this guy hit me with his car. I flew, I'm going to say, just 10 feet. I didn't, barrel roll or anything, but I literally left my feet and landed. Boom. Got up, walked over to his car, and I lean over and I go, what the fuck are you doing? And I, boom, I punch the hood of his car twice. As hard as I could, just wham, wham, and I'm like, get out of the car, and he's like with his family. This is a guy, he didn't mean to, he's scared, he's upset, he was probably going to get out and help me if I didn't turn into the Hulk, for no reason. I'm angry at this guy because he hit me with his car. He didn't mean to. It's not like he was, it's not Grand Theft Auto. He wasn't trying to run me over. We're not in Vice City. He was legitimately making a left-hand turn and he hit me. So, I punched, I punched a huge dent into the hood of his car. And which is good, quite frankly, because you know what? He hit me and nothing had happened to his car. I was going to make sure something happened to his goddamn car. And he immediately put it in reverse and floored it and just got the hell out of there. So I'm standing there, and there are people on the street still walking. They saw what happened. They had come over, and they just kind of dissipated. They just yeah, well, all right, I guess he's okay. We're not going to have to call the cops or the ambulance or anything, because quite frankly, I'm not going near that fucking guy after that maniac stood up and just beat up a car. Who does he think he is? Good God. Stay down, man. You've been hit by a car. Ridiculous. But when you're a kid, man, I thought I was indestructible. I thought anything could happen. And now I'm in my house barefoot and I hit my toe on the ottoman and I'm like, oh my God, call an ambulance. What has happened to me? How the mighty have fallen. This is the guy who plays Who Am I Going to Fuck at the Bank? This is the guy who walks in and looks around and he's and thinks about who he's going to fight in the grocery store. And yet I hit my head on the freezer and I'm like, oh Christ, seriously, this is it. I'm going to die. What a puss. What mixed messages I send myself. Terrible. You think you're indestructible? This will prove how indestructible I'm not. All right, this story is going to be a little graphic, folks, but bear with me, please. I know I get notes from people all the time who are saying that they don't understand why I tell these things and why I talk about it. I don't either. I really don't. I mean, it's what I've got to say. I told some guy that I've hit on some weird mixture of honesty and funny, sort of, I think, or it's almost like a cathartic thing. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what it is? I hope you listen. If you do, that's great. If you want to tune out now because you can't believe that I'm spitting sushi out and getting hit by cars, I completely understand. Go ahead and hang it up, folks. God knows whatever. So anyway, I'm in the house, and I am a neatly groomed guy. Because again, when I was a fat guy, and I'm a big guy now, I'm Big Mike. When I was Fat Mike, I was also very important that I was neat. It was very important for me to wash my clothes and always, never to be caught being a slob. Because I always thought fat went with slob, so fat slob. It was very important to me not to be a fat slob. And it was funny because I told the story about chugging last week, and I don't know if I mentioned it was very important not to spill anything, not just for the Marcus de Queensberry rules of chugging, but also because I didn't want to have beer on my shirt and everybody be like, oh, look at that fat slob. It's like Artie Lang is Howard Stern's sidekick guy, and he's another guy who's, he's – it's so funny. People tell me my stories are crazy. If you sat down with a guy like Artie Lang for 10 minutes, you would go, yeah, Mike Schmidt might be a priest because, quite frankly – this guy's got stories of doing heroin at Hollywood parties with hookers. I mean, those are great stories. My stories are just ridiculous. So Artie Lang goes on Letterman last week with a huge stain on his shirt. And I remember I saw it, and even now I was like, come on, Artie, step up your game a little bit. I understand you're playing the everyman slob guy, and that's your deal, and that's who you are, but you don't need to wear a stained shirt on Letterman. Maybe you know what? Wear a shirt. I don't care if you wear a beat-up T-shirt or whatever, but a big food stain on your shirt. Don't do it, man. You're just giving people ammunition to say that you're a fat slob. And whether or not you want to be that or you don't want to be that, if that's the image you're trying to cultivate, that's fine. But you're better than that. He's better than that. He's smart and funny. He doesn't need to do that. So that's me. Like I don't want to spill food on me. I don't want to give anybody the opportunity to ever have something one up on me. I don't ever want to be with, in a fight with somebody and they could go, well, look at your shirt, fat ass, like nice stain. I know that's weird. That's what's in my head, but that's what it is. I don't ever want to give anybody the chance to be able to have one over on me. So that said, grooming is important. So I shave, you stay clean, whatever, shower. So grooming finds its way to other parts of your body as you get older. You find out as when you hit 40, it's like, you wind up, I have like a buzzer, like a little trimmer that does my ears, and you got to do the inside of your nose. When I was a kid, I used to do that anyway, even though I didn't have to. But now if I don't do it, I mean, forget about it. It's like, Jack might climb into my nose looking for the giant and the goose with the golden eggs, whatever the fuck that story was. I don't know, Jack the Beanstalk. So honestly, it's like, you got to keep things trim, and you got to do all that stuff. So then I think to myself, well, I've always been kind of a trimming guy anyway. So there's a region, I'm going to say below the waist and above the knees, and I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and trim that up. So, and I do trim it up. I trim it up with, you go with some scissors, you do a little back and forth, and you just kind of keep it neat and all that. But then eventually you wind up going, you know what, I'm bored. I'm going to go ahead and, maybe I shave my name into my balls. Maybe I do that. Maybe that's a good idea. I shave my name into my balls. Just in case I get hit by another car and I don't have any ID on me, they can go ahead and yank down my trousers and go, you know what, this guy's name is Mike. It says right there on his ball sack. So, so I get into where I'm not only trimming it, but then I'm like, I'm going to shave it. So I have an electric razor, and I'm gonna shave it up. I'm gonna actually like really, you know what? Let's see what this is gonna look like. Let's go ahead and take care of that. And Karen decides that she's gonna get involved for those hard to reach places. So I'm like, all right, well, if you want to be involved, well, let's tag team this. Let's do it. So what I'm doing, she's manning the razor. Let's go ahead. She's got a jeweler's loop on, and she's got a visor on over her head because she's doing some very hard work. And she's got a soldering iron, just in case. You never know when you got to solder something down there. And she gets to trimming, zzz, and she's doing that. And but the thing is, when someone else is shaving your balls, they don't realize that it can hurt sometimes. Like, let's put it this way. Like, if you're shaving your face and you cut your face, you jump because you go, ow, okay. And so immediately you stop shaving your face. Well, Karen is doing a little buzzaroo, and she's bzzz, and then, it's an electric razor, so if you zig one way and then you zag another way against the grain, you're going to grab it. So she did it, and it goes ding, and this isn't like cutting your face. My face has been through a lot, okay? My face has been hit by knees and feet and hands, and it's had mat and chain link fence rubbed into it. It's had all sorts of terrible things, so my face is used to having some rough treatment. I'm going to tell you that my balls, not so much. My balls are not interested in having anything like that happen. So when that happens, I jump out of my fucking skin. But Karen just keeps going. Zzz. It's like if you were mowing the lawn and you hit a rock and you kept going. That's what she did. She's like, zzz, and I go, yo! And she's like, oh, sorry, Michael. Zzz, keeps going. Keeps taking care of it. So she's doing that, and I'm my job is to hold and move. Okay? So I have I've got the gear shift, and I'm moving that out of the way, moving that around, and she's shaving, and she's to the side and moving this. So then she's shaving, and I feel it grab, and I jump, and I go, whoa, and she goes, oh wow, okay, and I go, what? And she's like, you're bleeding, don't move, and I'm like, well, where am I going? I'm naked with a half-shaven bag. I'm not going anywhere at this point, especially now that there's blood. So I figure, well, all right, let's get some toilet paper and put it on there. So she goes and grabs. She's got a towel with her anyway, and she dabs the towel on there, and she's talking to me. She's like, "You okay?" I go, "Yeah, I'm fine." She goes, "You sure you're okay?" No. So that kind of throws me a little bit. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. What's up?" So she's like, "Nothing." She pulls the towel away, and it looks like she cut off my ear. I mean. It is a ton of blood. It looks like, remember when I cut my hand when I was cutting lunch meat? There's that much blood on the towel. It looks like you could wring it out. And so now I go, wait a minute, what the hell's going on down there? Because I can't see. I mean, I don't know what's happening. She's like, you know what? Here, hold this. Let's go in the shower. So I'm like, all right, this probably isn't the time to worry about the bedding, I wouldn't think. And but we go into the shower, and I'm standing there. And I'm holding the towel, and I take the towel away, and I look down. It's dripping onto the floor of the shower, like it's pouring. It's down my leg and dripping too. So it's like, I go, was my ball hanging out? What is happening down there? And it wasn't there. It was a little lower. It was in no man's land. All right, I'll spare you. That's where it was. It was right by Ballsack Avenue and Asshole Boulevard. It was right in between there. Okay, so it was right at the fulcrum, the crux. And I mean, it is just. And so now I go, am I going to have to go to the hospital? Because I think the last thing I want to get is stitches on my scrotum. I can't even imagine, as good as an album title as that would be. I have no interest in going ahead into a doctor's office and having to be put in the stirrups. I mean, that's Karen's job. You know what? You go ahead and get in the stirrups and get that all thing. I don't think I need anybody, because then how do you tell that story when you go into the hospital? You're just like, yeah, you know, my wife was shaving my balls, and one thing led to another, and then she just plunged a carving fork into my scrotum. So, but I am standing there, and I'm like, I said to her, I go, what's happening? Why won't it stop? And no, she's laughing. Like, she can't stop laughing because it's a tragedy. You know, I don't know if you've ever had that happen, where something horrible happens, and it's so horrible that you cannot stop laughing at it. So I'm sitting there, I'm just bleeding, and I'm laughing. I'm just like, this is ridiculous. Can you imagine what's going to happen if we have to go to the fucking hospital? I go, do I even get dressed? Like, I don't, do I just sashay in pantsless and just go, seriously, take a look. This is what's happening. So finally, like 20 minutes later, and I'm bleeding for 20 minutes. So now that's why I certainly can't understand why my blood pressure is so high, because I must have lost 5 quarts of blood. I mean, the bathroom looked like an accident scene. It looked like basically I was going to form a chalk outline around the stain that was in the bathtub. It just looked horrifying. And eventually it slowed down as I sat there with my feet up, airing out the area, waiting for it to coagulate and stop. But yeah, and then of course, then we're making jokes the whole time. I'm sitting there naked and bleeding. All we keep doing is making jokes about it. Like, I told her to go get a steak, like from the grocery store, and I would just hold a steak on my balls, like in the old movies when a guy would get punched in the face. I'm like, seriously, I got to put a chop on here. We got to go ahead and get some sort of chop to put on this, because it's not happening. And then we're talking about super gluing the cut, and I'm like, look, you are not getting anywhere near my cock with super glue. I've heard that ridiculous story too many times, because after she did this, after she's cut this huge chunk out of there, and I'm going to give her super glue, I know that eventually one thing's going to lead to another, and somehow my cock's going to get sealed up. Like, how did the glue wind up there? I have no idea, but now it doesn't matter, because now I have another hole that I can go ahead and piss out of, so everything's fine. Everything's going to be okay. So I guess my lesson to you folks is shave your own balls. Your wife doesn't need to get involved in that activity. As much as she wants to, as much as she thinks it's funny, seriously, she does not need to be involved in that. She can guide you. She can coach you if she wants. Like, if she wants to hold the mirror while you're going ahead and taking care of business, that's fine. But Karen wants to dive head in. She just, because to her it's hilarious. My cock is like a puppet. She's just like, oh, look, he's sad. Oh, he's not sad. He's fine. Oh, look, you can pull his hat over his head. Yes, you can. That's interesting. My God, leave it alone. People are fascinated. By people, I mean my wife. I don't think anybody, what if other people were? These guys at the gym are fascinated with my cock. Oh, my God, look at him. He's sad. He's not sad. Why does everybody think he's sad? He's not sad. He's thrilled. Look at how many people are talking about him and hearing about him. He's famous, for God's sake. Good Lord, is he happy. He's being photographed. He's having tales told about him from one end of the country to the other. I'm sure there are study groups. All of you are getting together and discussing it and figuring out what to talk about. Yes, of course you are. Awful. So go ahead and send me emails at mike@MikeSchmidtComedy.com. Go ahead and reach me there, and I'll, of course, read all the communiques and all that fun stuff. Also, go ahead into my MySpace page, which is myspace.com/MikeSchmidtComedy, and go ahead and check out all of my friends there and become their friends. And let's all have friends of friends, and let's all be friends. It's awful. Go to, where else? Go to comedyfilmnerds.com, because this week there is a new article regarding my experience at the Happening. I don't talk about the drunks. I talked about that here, but it's more or less about the film and about M. Night Shyamalan and why he should maybe think about doing something else with his life. Although he shouldn't, quite frankly, because the movie made $30 million. The movie made a ton of dough at the box office. So he's, again, as long as he's fooling people opening week, then what does it matter? Then he'll continue to make films, and then we'll all be fooled again. It's like, I usually see every movie during the summer. It's like my thing. I'm just like, you know what? I got to see all of them. But man, M. Night Shyamalan and Mike Myers are really putting that to the test this year. I after seeing The Happening, the biggest victim in the whole thing is Mike Myers, because he may not get my $14 for The Love Guru now. I was going to pay because I see everything, but after Shyamalan, I gotta rethink that theory, because Jesus Christ, I can't. You know what? Shyamalan should make a movie with Mike Myers. So all of, because they both do the exact same thing in every movie. Like Mike Myers makes the exact same jokes, and M. Night Shyamalan has the exact same situations. Literally, whatever. When you read my article at Comedy Film Nerds, you'll see there's blatant naked ripping off of himself in this movie, and that would be interesting. And then the twist ending at the end of the Shyamalan Myers thing would be that Myers was funny all along. That would be the twist ending of the film. And and by the way, Mike Myers makes $20 million a movie. I do a radio show for free out of my friend's house. Yeah, I should sit here and pontificate about how unfunny Mike Myers is as he bathes in money, and I pay my friend in tacos. Jesus Christ. As always, you can send me an email at mike@MikeSchmidtComedy.com. Go ahead and send me an email there. Read my communiques. Check out appearances. Nothing road-wise scheduled yet, but of course I'll be here in Los Angeles, in and above, open mics all over the city. Go ahead and check out my MySpace page, myspace.com/MikeSchmidtComedy, and check that out. That would be great. And leave me a note on there if you want, or comment, or read the blog. And also write Tom. Tell Tom how much you like me, because I know Tom reads all of his email on MySpace. And also go to iTunes if you want, and go and leave a review on iTunes. That'd be great. That'd be fantastic. Leaving a good review would be even better. But if you just wanted to leave a review, that'd be fine too. Just make sure people know we're listening to the 40-Year-Old Boy podcast. And also, I had one other thing. Go to comedyfilmnerds.com and go read what I wrote about The Happening. And there'll be other things all summer long. And while you're there, go ahead and check out Graham Elwood's stuff, and Jackie Cation, very funny, and Alan Havey, extremely funny. And our friend Neil. Neil is the regular guy there. He writes reviews from a regular guy point of view. So go check out all the stuff at comedyfilmnerds.com. Buy stuff, buy short films, enjoy it. And you know what else? I'll throw this out there, too. Some of you might not know that I was on a show called Never Not Funny, which was a very successful podcast when I was on it, and has become a hugely successful podcast now that I'm not on it. When I was on there, boy, people liked it. I split. People love it. So, check it out, too. It's a very funny show. But I will tell you that Season 1 of Never Not Funny is available to be purchased. You can buy its 59 solid episodes of me and Jimmy Pardo and Matt Belknap being funny. And I pitch this because I get money for everyone that you buy. So go ahead and try to buy Season 1 of Never Not Funny. There's actually a CD called The Best of Never Not Funny, which was available, I think, on iTunes. You can go ahead and get that, too. I get money from that. But what really will make you excited, I think, is if you buy the entire Season 1, because it's like 59 hours of comedy for $20. And it was great, man. I had a great time doing it, and I wouldn't be doing this show if it wasn't for that, because Eric would not have heard me on there and asked me to do my show, because he wouldn't have thought I was funny, because he wouldn't have known who I was. And so then I'd just be bleeding from the ball sack on my own with nobody to tell about it. So by all means, go ahead and buy Never Not Funny Season 1. That'd be fantastic. You can actually go to MikeSchmidtComedy.com and click on Store, and that will take you to the specialthing.com store, and it should be right at the top of the page. Never Not Funny Season 1. Go ahead and buy it and experience what I was like when I had other people to talk to. Before I had alienated everybody in the world and I didn't have to talk into a microphone alone like a goof. When there were people who actually enjoyed chatting with me for any length of time and putting it on tape. Go ahead and listen to that. That'll be fine. But it was really a fun time and a great show. And I can't recommend it highly enough because I get money from it. So go MikeSchmidtComedy.com, go to Store, go buy Never Not Funny, go ahead and send me an email, Mike@MikeSchmidtComedy.com, and go to MySpace.com/MikeSchmidtComedy. You can always listen to the episodes there, become my friend, and do all that neat stuff. And also ComedyFilmNerds.com. By the way, I'm just going to come up with a podcast where all I do is say a bunch of .coms and tell you to go visit them. Because I honestly, off the top of my head, I think I said where to go 150 times in the last 2 minutes. I gave you every single address to go to. I don't know why I did it. I mean, you know what to do. You've listened to the show before. You know where all the websites are. You know what you have to visit and go to see. What you have to visit? Yes, you have to. Listen, folks, I am making you like an army, and you need to visit these sites immediately and go ahead and take everything that you can from them, glean what you can, the information, and then write me and send me some sort of report. You're doing recon. You're doing internet recon. That's what you're doing. You're kind of going ahead and trying to figure out exactly what to make sure people can avoid. And you know what they can avoid? They can avoid all of those websites that I told you about, because God knows, why would you want to do that? Just listen to this show, for Christ's sake. Please tell your friends, get them involved. You know what? You know who likes this show? 40-year-olds and boys. That's who likes this show. And also ladies who are married to 40-year-olds and ladies who have sired boys. I don't know if they sired them. Do ladies sire them? They give birth to them. I don't know if they sired them or not. I'm not a horse racing fan, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know that much about the sport of kings. But all I know is I am a guy who was standing in a pool of his own blood in his bathtub. That's who I am. That's who you're dealing with. I wish I had something interesting to I'm a dick, folks. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a decent guy. Because I am a jerk. And I'm not a jerk. Man, I'm an awful guy. I'm not an awful guy. I am not a good guy. But I don't think I'm a bad person overall. So, and go ahead and by all means judge that. I'm kind of a jag-off. I got no future. What am I talking about? But I am a jag-off. And I'm not a jerk. I'm a nice guy. It's just I guess I have jerky tendencies. I've done so much ridiculous stuff, and then I wonder afterwards, I'm like, man, how come I don't hang out with anybody? Here's why, because you're a dick. You're finished. 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 You're finished.